It's the final round of this year's Pack Pup tournament. I can't take my eyes off my pup, Patrick Grant, as he wins the title. When the host calls Patrick's parents on stage to celebrate, I leap up thrilled. But then I see Nicholas Grant, my alpha mate, walk up with his secretary Natalia Lawson. They stand side by side under the spotlight, kissing Patrick on both cheeks. It's as if Natalia is the mother, as if she's the Luna of our pack, as if they're the perfect family. I can only stand there in the audience, feeling the weight of countless startled stares, too ashamed to lift my head. Later, Nicholas brushes the incident off. You were seated farther back. It was easier to bring Natalia up on stage, he explains. Easier? I swallow the humiliation and force myself to believe it was just an unfortunate coincidence. Until today, that is. I sense through our blood bond that something's wrong with Patrick, so I drop everything and race to the Pack hospital. But when I arrive, Patrick is lying in Natalia's lap, whining to her in a soft voice. I step forward to introduce myself, but the healer only looks surprised. The emergency contact form lists Natalia as his mom, though. It turns out Patrick himself had stripped me of my role as his mother. And Nicholas didn't stop him. I finally understand. I don't belong in this family anymore. That night, I tell Nicholas the first want to dissolve the mate bond between us. He doesn't even look up as he says, "Don't be dramatic. You'd dissolve our bond over a single name on a form." Yes. It's the final round of this year's Pack Pup tournament. I can't take my eyes off my pup, Patrick Grant, as he wins the title. When the host calls Patrick's parents on stage to celebrate, I leap up thrilled. But then I see Nicholas Grant, my alpha mate, walk up with his secretary, Natalia Lawson. They stand side by side under the spotlight, kissing Patrick on both cheeks. It's as if Natalia is the mother, as if she's the Luna of our pack, as if they're the perfect family. I can only stand there in the audience, feeling the weight of countless startled stares, too ashamed to lift my head. Later, Nicholas brushes the incident off. You were seated farther back. It was easier to bring Natalia up on stage, he explains. Easier? I swallow the humiliation and force myself to believe it was just an unfortunate coincidence. Until today, that is. I sense through our blood bond that something's wrong with Patrick, so I drop everything and race to the Pack hospital. But when I arrive, Patrick is lying in Natalia's lap, whining to her in a soft voice. I step forward to introduce myself, but the healer only looks surprised. The emergency contact form lists Natalia as his mom, though. It turns out Patrick himself had stripped me of my role as his mother. And Nicholas didn't stop him. I finally understand. I don't belong in this family anymore. That night, I tell Nicholas the first want to dissolve the mate bond between us. He doesn't even look up as. He says, "Don't be dramatic. You'd dissolve our bond over a single name on a form?" Yes. Nicholas Grant rubbed his temples as a flicker of irritation flashed through his eyes. This again, Evelyn? Every time we argue, you threaten to dissolve the mate bond. Please, can't you stop being so immature? He shoved a few documents into his briefcase without sparing me a glance. I have an urgent meeting to attend with the elders. Let's talk about this when I get back, all right? His secretary, Natalia Lawson, stood by the door and handed him his coat while gently reminding him, "Alpha Nicholas, the elders have all arrived. We really shouldn't keep them waiting." After she finished speaking, she looked at me with a troubled expression. "Luna Evelyn, I'm truly sorry. I know you're upset and want Alpha Nicholas by your side, but this meeting is important for the entire pack. He really can't be late." The two of them played off each other effortlessly. Their tone carried a profound helplessness from being dragged down by my alleged unreasonable behavior. It was as if I, the rightful Luna of this pack, were the one being inconsiderate. Just then Natalia's phone rang. She let out a startled cry as if she had lost her grip, and her finger accidentally played a voice message. A man's voice echoed clearly through the room. "Natalia, is Alpha Nicholas still stuck dealing with that petty and moody Luna of his? Honestly, he should have chosen a new mate long ago. A Luna who can't think beyond herself only brings bad luck to the pack. You should take her place as the new Luna. Everyone in the pack supports you." I recognized that voice. It belonged to the beta whom Nicholas had personally promoted, the one who had attended our marking ceremony. Natalia pretended to panic as she locked her phone, then bowed to me in apology. Luna Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't mean for that to happen. I ignored her and looked straight at Nicholas. Is this how your people talk about me behind my back? And you're not going to do anything about it? He sighed, showing no trace of remorse, only thinking I was making a fuss over nothing again. What do you expect me to do? Go around silencing every single one of them? Evelyn, if you didn't make a big deal out of everything, would they even be saying these things? Maybe it's time you looked at your own behavior. Nicholas didn't even glance at me. He walked straight past me and headed for the door. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. It felt like a massive weight was pressing down on my chest. So to them, all my sacrifices were nothing but a string of farces. When I once voiced concern about how often Natalia showed up in our home, Nicholas had accused me of being petty. He said that even as a Luna, I couldn't tolerate his most trusted female secretary. I once collapsed from exhaustion and ended up in the hospital after doing chores while sick, so I couldn't accompany him to a pack council meeting. Nicholas only branded me as selfish and irresponsible. And now, I was heartbroken that my pup had replaced me as his mother, and felt betrayed that my mate had brought another woman to a celebration that should have been mine. Yet to Nicholas, it was nothing but an overreaction on my part. A flood of grievances and disappointment welled up in me at that moment. I stood there silently, staring at Nicholas. My voice was soft, but it carried a finality I had never felt before. Nicholas, let's dissolve our mate bond. As soon as I finished speaking, a flicker of joy crossed Natalia's eyes, and she was on the verge of breaking into a smile. She quickly masked it with a look of faux shock, even stepping back a little, as if my words had truly startled her. Nicholas leaned against the doorframe. He irritably undid a shirt button as if his patience had finally run out. All this over one emergency contact entry? Is that really worth all this drama, Evelyn? I've already had Patrick's emergency contact changed back. At Pack Pup Tournament, you were sitting too far away. Natalia was closer, so I brought her on stage for convenience, that's all. I'm sorry, okay? It was my fault. Is that good enough for you? Natalia seized the moment and walked over, looking at me with a submissive posture. Luna Evelyn, I apologize to you as well. Please don't misunderstand. Patrick will always be your pup. I momentarily forgot my place, but I had no other intentions. Nicholas' mother, Fiona Pearson, climbed the stairs with her cane at this moment. She was the former Luna who was deeply respected. Evelyn, that's enough. Look at how Nicholas works day and night for the pack. Can't you be a little more understanding? Do you really want the whole pack laughing at our disgrace? Her words made even the housekeepers glance at me with judgment in their eyes. I silently looked at them. Every single one of them told me I was wrong in their own ways, that I was overreacting, not considerate enough, and forcing my alpha to give in. But weren't they the ones who made me the way I now was? Nicholas and I were once fated mates chosen by the moon goddess. We had been the most envied pair in the pack. But not long after we became mates, my father's unit suffered a crushing defeat in a pack battle. He went missing and was labeled a deserter. Fiona was afraid that my father's disgrace would damage Nicholas' reputation. More than once, she sighed right in front of me, saying I was a burden to Nicholas. She tried countless times, both openly and subtly, to convince me to dissolve the mate bond. Later, when I became pregnant and required care, she insisted that Nicholas and I lived separately. She said I needed proper rest. When I gave birth to Patrick Grant, I nearly died during labor. And when I woke from my coma, the first thing I heard was Fiona saying to Nicholas with regret, "It's a pity she didn't die during childbirth. It would have saved us a lot of trouble." Her words felt like the cruelest curse. It drained every bit of strength from me and drove my wolf into such a rage that it nearly broke free from its restraints. For the safety of the pack, for the man I loved, and for the pup I bore, I sealed away my wolf with my own hands and forced her into slumber. And what did I get in return for all of it? They used that as an excuse, saying I needed to recover, and thus handed newborn Patrick over to Fiona's care. I begged every day just to see my pup, but they never once let me meet him. When my wolf finally recovered, Patrick had already grown distant. He avoided my arms when I reached for him and wrinkled his nose at my scent. At every school event, he made it clear he didn't want me there. He even replaced my name with Natalia's on his emergency contact form. And Nicholas, my fated mate, let all of it happen without a word. He even turned it back on me, saying I was too sensitive and that as a Luna, I should have been more tolerant. In the past, I would have kept silent for love for Patrick. But this time, I was truly tired. All I wanted was to escape this suffocating prison. Nicholas, go to your precious meeting and take whoever you like with you. But before you do, we dissolve our mate bond. Nicholas was completely enraged by what I said. The air in the room turned cold and suffocating. Evelyn, is wrecking this family the only thing that'll satisfy you? At the next moment, his alpha energy exploded with destructive force, instantly flooding the room. The glass table shattered with a loud crack, web-like fractures spreading across the surface under the pressure. Natalia's legs gave out, and she let out a panicked scream. Her cry instantly snapped Nicholas back to his senses. He quickly pulled back his overwhelming energy. He turned around, caught Natalia just as she was about to collapse, and shielded her behind him. Don't be afraid. I lost control for a moment. I didn't mean to scare you. That apology clearly wasn't for me. It was meant for Natalia. Natalia peeked out from behind him, eyes red-rimmed. Her hands clutched his suit tightly, as if it were her shield. I'm fine, Alpha Nicholas. What matters now is calming Luna Evelyn. What if her wolf loses control again? That one sentence was all it took for Nicholas to regain his composure. He immediately told the butler to bring Patrick downstairs. A short while later, Patrick came down in his thin pajamas as he rubbed his eyes. He greeted Nicholas first, then affectionately called Natalia Nat. But he didn't even spare me a single glance. The winter air was chilly, so I instinctively grabbed the blanket next to me and intended to drape it over his shoulders. Yet he recoiled from me as if avoiding a disease, and his expression was full of disgust. You smell awful. I hate your scent. I don't want anything that reeks of you. Get it away from me. He shot me a contemptuous look and ran straight to Natalia. Sweetheart, why are you out here wearing so little? Natalia took off her coat without thinking, wrapped him up, and pulled him into her arms. Patrick buried himself in her arms and said without hesitation, You're so nice, Nat. You're not like Evelyn. She only knows how to make Dad angry. Nicholas frowned. Patrick, why are you calling your mom by her name? Come here and apologize to your mom. She's angry because you changed the emergency contact info without permission. If you don't apologize, she's going to leave us. Patrick's eyes suddenly lit up. Is Evelyn finally leaving? I'm not apologizing. Evelyn, just leave already. I want Nat to be my new mom. His words ripped through my heart, and I could hardly breathe from the pain. I started to question if this was really the pup I had nearly died bringing into the world. Was everything I bled and suffered through that day repaid only by his cruelty? Nicholas' expression darkened. Watch your mouth. Apologize right now. Patrick had inherited Nicholas' stubbornness. His eyes turned red, but he refused to say a word. Even Nicholas couldn't get him to budge. In the end, it was Natalia who coaxed him gently. Sweetheart, can you say sorry to your mom? Just do it as a favor for me, okay? Patrick bit down on his lower lip and hesitated for a long moment before finally giving in. His neck stiffened. Even now he wouldn't look me in the eye, as if apologizing to me was a humiliation. Sorry. Happy now. Nicholas let out a breath of relief. All right. Patrick apologized. Evelyn, can you stop making this into a big deal now? Stop talking about dissolving the mate bond. I know you're just upset and don't really mean it, so quit saying things like that. Before I could respond, Natalia's phone chimed with a new message. She pulled out her phone and started typing rapidly across the screen. Right after that, Patrick's smartwatch buzzed twice. Over the next moments, the smartwatch and the phone kept chiming one after another. Patrick had a sly smile tugging at his lips, and even snuck a glance in my direction. My heart dropped. I realized then that they might be messaging each other in secret. Could my own pup really be teaming up with an outsider to speak ill of me behind my back? Patrick's smartwatch was linked to my family shared ID, so I could easily stay in touch with him, which meant I could see his chat messages. I never imagined I'd one day use it to spy on him. But now, my hands trembled as I took out my phone. A group chat named Just Us 3 lit up my screen, every message syncing in real time. That woman is so annoying. She gave me something that stinks and still expects me to apologize. Patrick had texted. Natalia replied, "Sweetheart, you shouldn't talk about your mom like that. But it does break my heart to see you so upset." Patrick typed, "Why won't she just disappear? Then I could stay with you forever, Nat. I want to be with you forever too, but Luna Evelyn will never allow it. And she's not going anywhere. She always clings to your dad," Natalia replied. Patrick said, "She's the worst. A crazy woman. A nasty witch." By the time I reached the last message, I was trembling so hard that I didn't even notice my finger had tapped the screen and accidentally sent a symbol into their chat. As soon as Patrick realized their secret was exposed, he flew into rage and pointed at me. He shouted, "You had no right to read my messages. Who gave you permission? I'm removing you from the home network." Patrick truly was Nicholas' pup. Even the way he yelled at me sounded just like his father. He broke free from Natalia's arms, grabbed my phone, and smashed it to the ground. The screen cracked instantly on impact. Patrick was still fuming. He snatched up the shattered remains of the phone from the floor and hurled them at my head. He had alpha blood in him, and he was already quite strong. A sharp pain shot through me as the phone's sharp edge split my temple. Warm blood trickled down immediately. I flinched in pain as a wave of dizziness washed over me. My chest ached with every heartbeat. I couldn't believe my own pup had done this to me. "Get out! Get out of our house!" Patrick said. He kept shoving me over and over. Nicholas saw me bleeding and looked somewhat helpless. "Patrick, that's enough. Don't treat your mom like that." He pulled out a clean handkerchief and handed it to me. "Sometimes, if your pup grows distant, you should take a hard look at yourself. How could you pry into his privacy? You're always so aggressive. Would like someone like that? Come on, he already said sorry. Can't you be satisfied with that? Stop making this worse than it is." I didn't understand any of this. What exactly should I be satisfied with? Satisfied that my pup wanted nothing to do with me? Satisfied that my mate stood by and let him treat me like this? Satisfied that my pup only saw Natalia as his mom and not me? Blood still dripped from my temple, sliding down my cheek. I blinked hard, forcing back the stinging tears welling up. Then, I pulled out the ancient parchment scroll that I had prepared long ago. "Sign it, Nicholas. I'm dissolving the mate bond. This is a magic scroll I bought that can dissolve the bond painlessly. We're using it now. Evelyn, don't test my limits." Nicholas' voice turned even colder as he added, "You wasted money on this? Over something so trivial? You're being reckless. What exactly do you want? An apology from the whole family? The entire pack? No, Luna behaves this unreasonably. It's time you stopped." I slowly lifted my head and met his furious gaze. I flashed an exhausted smile, empty of all expectations. He seemed slightly unsettled by my unusual reaction, but I couldn't care less. I repeated each word calmly and clearly. "I want to dissolve our mate bond." Nicholas froze for a moment, then laughed with disbelief and scorn as he stepped closer. "You really think you're ready? Everything you have now, your status, your honor, even the shoes you're wearing, all came from me. Once the mate bond is dissolved, you'll be a Luna abandoned by her alpha. Every wolf in the pack will look down on you. And don't even think about taking Patrick. As the future alpha, he'll be staying with me." Nicholas thought these words could still intimidate me like they used to. What he didn't realize was that I stopped caring long ago. I nodded calmly and pointed to the parchment scroll I had long prepared to dissolve the mate bond. "Take a look. You can have custody of Patrick, and I'll only take the keepsakes my mother left me. I don't want anything else." Nicholas' hands trembled slightly as he held the scroll. Just then Natalia stepped in at the perfect moment. Her eyes were red, and her voice choked. "Is all of this happening because of me? Luna Evelyn, If you really can't stand me, I can resign. I'll stop being Alpha Nicholas' secretary. You and Alpha Nicholas are fated mates, and I'm just an outsider. Please don't let me come between you two. I can even leave the pack and live as a rogue, vanishing from your lives for good. I just want everyone to be happy." She bit her lower lip, eyes red with unshed tears, as if she'd been deeply wronged. Nicholas frowned slightly and looked at her with concern. Patrick immediately shouted back, "Nat, you're not an outsider. If you leave, then I'm going with you." A sly glint flashed in his eyes as he leaned in to whisper in Natalia's ear, "Dad needs his heir. He'll definitely abandon that old witch for good and come looking for us." Of course, I caught every single word of his whisper. At that moment, I felt nothing but bitter irony. The pup I nearly died giving birth to had grown into someone so ungrateful. There was no point in saying anything more. "Nicholas, let's dissolve the mate bond. There's nothing left to save." Natalia kept up her fake pleading. "Luna, Evelyn, don't be so impulsive." I turned my gaze to Natalia, cutting off her act. "Drop the act, Natalia. Isn't this what you wanted? Well, now you've got it." "Evelyn." Nicholas shook with rage and pulled Natalia behind him. "Do what you want to me, but don't you dare hurt Natalia. She's loyal to the pack and me." As Natalia wept beside him, he snatched the scroll and bit his fingertip before signing his name with alpha blood. The scroll flared with a blinding light, and the bond that once linked our souls flickered into view above us. With a soft snap, it shattered into countless specks of starlight, disappearing into the air. And just like that, the bond that once tied our fates was gone. Just moments ago, he refused to dissolve the bond no matter how much I pleaded. Now all it took was a few fake tears from Natalia, and he agreed without a second thought. It was utterly laughable. "Don't regret it," he spat, throwing the scroll at my face. Its sharp edge left a burning scratch across my cheek. But I didn't flinch. I stood tall and replied with calm indifference, "Thank you, Alpha Nicholas. You still have an emergency meeting, don't you? Go on then. Don't keep the elders waiting." Nicholas stared at me in disbelief, as if he couldn't understand how I could remain so calm. I ignored him and went back to my room. I had packed my things 2 weeks ago. I wheeled out my suitcase and handed a wooden box I had prepared to Patrick. "Your birthday's next month. I carved this figurine myself, and it's the last gift I'll ever give you." "I don't want it." Patrick frowned in disgust. He didn't even open the wooden box before walking straight to the fireplace with it. "Nat will get me something better. I don't want your trash." As soon as he finished speaking, he tossed the box into the flames. In a flash of firelight, every bit of care I had poured into it went up in smoke. I showed no emotion and simply said, "Suit yourself." Then, I turned toward the door as Nicholas hurled mocking words at my back. "You'd better think it through. Once you walk out that door, Patrick and I will have nothing to do with you. He'll never call you Mom again, and I won't call you my mate. No one will call you Luna. If you're really that capable, then stay gone. Don't come crawling back like you always do, showing up days later in tears and begging me to forgive you." His voice grew more frantic. I knew he was trying to force me to back down. Something suddenly occurred to me, and I stopped in my tracks. Nicholas' tone shifted with smugness. But I wasn't stopping to stay. I slipped off the ridiculously high heels I'd been wearing and under his stunned gaze, dropped them into the trash. "You said you gave me these shoes, right? I don't want them anymore. I'm done. Of course, I'm done with you and the pup too." A strange sense of relief washed over me as I walked away, leaving behind every painful memory that place held. Goodbye, Nicholas. Goodbye to the foolish love and blind obsession I once held. From now on, all of it would fade like a passing storm and be gone forever. I was finally free. Nicholas and I had been fated mates chosen by the moon goddess. My wolf was captivated by him from the very first moment we met. To me, this love once mattered more than my own life did. I had loved him with all I had, with no hesitation or doubt. Back when I was young, he was the brightest star in our entire pack. He was the most powerful alpha heir, handsome, commanding, and an undisputed leader in every pack activity. Countless women admired him, and I fell for him at first sight as well. I trained relentlessly and joined every hunt he led. I even studied everything Aluna needed to know. Also, I could be worthy of standing at his side. Even quietly standing there beside him was enough to leave me utterly spellbound. When we completed our marking ceremony, I had thought it was the happiest moment of my life. At the time, he was about to become alpha. I knew that one of the biggest reasons he chose to bond with me was because of my father. Back then, my father was the pack's beta. His strength and reputation could offer Nicholas the strongest support in leading the pack. I had always been aware that our bond wasn't entirely built on love. Still, I had thrown myself into it without hesitation. I naively believed that if I loved him deeply enough, I would one day thaw that cold heart of his. But I never thought that soon after we became mates, something would happen to my father. The unit my father led was crushed in a pack battle. He went missing afterward and was branded a deserter. Our family fell from glory overnight, becoming a stain others went out of their way to avoid. After Fiona heard the news, she repeatedly urged Nicholas to dissolve our mate bond. But he never did. At the time, I truly felt grateful to him. I thought that choosing me despite the heavy pressure was the clearest proof he had feelings for me. So I devoted myself to him even more. I took care of the tedious household matters, raised our pup, and willingly set aside all my own ambitions and brilliance. It wasn't until last month that I finally discovered the ridiculous truth. It had been Fiona's birthday celebration, attended by the most influential figures in the pack. She had specifically forbidden me from attending, afraid my father's disgrace would be brought up again and tarnish their family's reputation. I held back my hurt and still wanted to deliver the gift I had prepared with care. Even if all I could do was drop off the gift and leave, it would still show my sincerity. I arrived at the banquet hall carrying the gift. Everyone was enjoying themselves, too caught up in laughter to notice me. Nicholas was deep in conversation with one of the most respected elders in the pack. Beside him stood Natalia, looking sharp and confident. I later found out that Natalia was the elder's niece, pampered and favored since childhood. Alpha Nicholas, I've always thought highly of you. It's a pity you already have a mate, or I would have been determined to marry my beloved niece to you. Nicholas was caught off guard by the compliment. He raised his glass to clink it with the elders. I didn't really have a choice back then. There were never any deep feelings between Evelyn and me. After her father's scandal, I wanted to dissolve our bond, but her mother begged me not to abandon her poor daughter. I took pity on her mother's desperation and just let things be. My heart sank. It hurt so much that it felt like I was being torn in half. So this was the whole truth behind our mate bond. I had always thought that after all these years together, he had to at least feel something for me. Turns out, it was nothing more than my own wishful thinking. Patrick skipped over to Natalia, arms wide open for a hug. He kept calling her Nat so sweetly, like they were incredibly close. Nat, can you be my mom? I promise I'll behave. Natalia chuckled and teased. Don't you already have a mom, Patrick? Why do you want me to be your mom too? Patrick frowned, his face full of disdain. I don't want that woman to be my mom. Grandma said she's crazy. I don't want to be the pup of a lunatic. There was a wave of stifled laughter from the crowd. Everyone laughed it off, remarking how kids just said whatever came to mind. That I was the only one whose heart ached to the point of breaking. That it was at that moment that I finally understood. There was no need to keep degrading myself like this for the rest of my life. That if everyone I loved saw me as a burden, then I would stop loving them. That was when I started thinking about dissolving our mate bond. That I had wrestled with it every day, unsure if I could really go through with it. Then Nicholas secretly took Natalia to Patrick's tournament behind my back. Worse yet, Patrick changed his emergency contact to Natalia. That was the moment I completely gave up. That I knew I had to dissolve the mate bond. Otherwise, I would be trapped in this relationship until it slowly suffocated me. That I never looked back after walking away from that gilded cage. That I left the pack's territory and went to the forest, a place that time had almost forgotten. Deep in the forest stood a wooden cabin my father had built himself. He gave it to me as a coming-of-age gift, back when our family still held its honor, and he had not yet been branded a traitor. That I had once asked him why he chose to build a house in such a remote place. That he gently stroked my hair and said, "My daughter, This is your refuge and your strength that if one day you're tired or wronged, you'll at least have a safe place where no one can disturb you. Only now did I understand how deeply he loved me, and how far ahead he'd planned for me. Back at the cabin, everything still looked exactly as it had all those years ago. I set down my bag and stepped into my small room. As I lay on the bed, memories of the past few years came rushing back like a tide. All I felt was exhaustion. That night, I fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. Such a life didn't seem so bad after all. Each day I gathered herbs in the forest and treated minor injuries for the smaller packs nearby. I no longer had to deal with Nicholas' coldness or Patrick's resentment. Life seemed to hold more hope now. A month passed in the blink of an eye. I received messages from Nicholas twice. The first time it was just a short line that read, "Are you done being angry?" I found it laughable. Even after our mate bond was dissolved, he still thought everything I did was just me being petty. I didn't bother to respond. The second message came a week later, and I blocked him without even reading it. I now assisted at a healing hut on the outskirts of the pack's territory, using the herbal knowledge my mother had taught me to care for the poorer members of the pack. There was always work to be done, which helped me forget the unhappy memories of the past for a while, and focus on starting over. One afternoon, just as I finished my tasks, the head of the healing hut informed me that a strange illness had begun to spread. The alpha of the Grant pack would be visiting all healing huts in and around the pack's territory to investigate. My chest tightened. "He's coming here?" She nodded. "Yes. The alpha will be here at 2 p.m. You'll be in charge of hosting and briefing him." I couldn't help but sigh. What I feared most was exactly what came. I had just completely parted ways with Nicholas, and now I had to face him again under such circumstances. I'd have to pretend there was no resentment between us, as if we were complete strangers. That was no small challenge for me. "I've got something to do this afternoon. Can't someone else go instead?" She shook her head. "You're the most knowledgeable about herbs here. It has to be you." I had no choice but to accept. When I saw Nicholas again, a wave of awkwardness washed over me. He, on the other hand, was far more composed. He maintained a cold expression from start to finish. Natalia stood by his side as though she were the new Luna. The moment Nicholas coughed, she instantly handed him water and gently patted his back. When Nicholas frowned, she immediately stepped forward and began asking me all sorts of questions on his behalf. Thankfully, I had a young apprentice named Thomas Warner beside me. He couldn't spare me from all the awkwardness, but he could at least handle Natalia's endless, status-flaunting questions. After the inspection, I gave Nicholas a polite nod, forcing a smile even though bitterness twisted inside me. "There's still some time before your departure. Let me take you to the lounge so you can take a short break," I said. Perhaps it was the days of exhaustion combined with the after-effects of dissolving the mate bond. As I led the way, my steps faltered, and I nearly collapsed. Luckily, Thomas reacted quickly and steadied me by the waist. "Evelyn, are you all right?" I shook my head. "I'm just tired. I'll be fine after some rest." He pulled out a wrapped candy from his pocket and offered it to me. "Have one. It'll help. Let me walk you there." I was about to refuse when my gaze inadvertently fell on Nicholas' hand hanging in the air, and the terrifying darkness in his eyes. The sight sent chills down my spine. I shrank back and accepted Thomas's help. At least with Thomas by my side, I felt a little safer. As soon as we reached the lounge, I poured Nicholas a glass of water and turned to leave. Yet he stopped me. "Everyone else out. I need a word with Evelyn." Natalia frowned, looking as if she wanted to speak but held back. She bit her lower lip and left the lounge with the others. As soon as the door closed, Nicholas shoved me against the wall, bracing his arms on either side of my head as his heat poured over my neck. It was a dangerous kind of intimacy. "What are you doing?" I instinctively tried to push him away, but he pinned my wrists hard against the wall. He gripped my waist tightly, and his other hand cupped the back of my head as his overwhelming kisses rained down on. I was suffocating during his kiss, so I sank my teeth hard into his tongue. He didn't release me until the metallic taste of blood hit his mouth. "Have some respect. Our mate bond has been dissolved." He scoffed. "Evelyn, my mark is etched on your soul. You can never change the fact that you were once my Luna. I was floored by how shameless and domineering he was. So what? We're nothing now. You signed the scroll yourself, I said. Is that so? He narrowed his eyes dangerously, changing the subject. Who was that guy just now? Why was he being so nice to you? It's obvious he's up to no good. You'd better stay away from him. I was a little surprised. Back when I was still Luna, there had been other male werewolves who showed interest in me, unaware that I already had a mate. Nicholas knew all about it, but he had never shown the slightest sign of displeasure. I had thought that an alpha as powerful and self-assured as he was would never be troubled by something as petty as jealousy, much like an ordinary werewolf would. Then why was he acting so possessive now? Nicholas, you're overstepping. Our mate bond has been dissolved. What I do is no longer your concern. He frowned, then reached out and gently brushed the dust from my temple. He sighed deeply. There was a hint of pity and resignation in his voice. All right, Evelyn. I was wrong, okay? Let's just get back together. You only dissolved the bond because you were acting on impulse. I came here to give you a chance to take back that rash decision. As long as you stop bringing this up again and quit acting out like before, we can pretend none of it ever happened. How does that sound? I looked into his eyes, trying to figure out whether he was joking or really meant it. No, he was actually serious. He really thought that by lowering himself to come here as Alpha, I would gratefully accept his forgiveness. I shook off his hand and took 2 steps back, putting distance between us. Nicholas, I think you might have misunderstood. When I said I wanted to dissolve our mate bond, I wasn't joking. I truly meant to walk away for good. Our relationship ended a long time ago, and there's no going back. So why do we keep tormenting each other? You and Natalia seem like a good match. She looks up to you, and Patrick likes her too. You two will probably be happy together. Nicholas grew irritated and said in a hoarse voice, How many times do I have to say this? There's nothing going on between Natalia and me. She's just my secretary. I only brought her to the tournament because Patrick likes her. You and Patrick never got along, and he didn't want you there. What else was I supposed to do? It's such a minor issue, and I've explained it over and over again. Why can't you just accept it? I stared at him without a word and nodded. I understand. Then, why did you want to dissolve the bond? He asked. I found it laughable. The Alpha, known for his strength and composure, now looked like a young werewolf overwhelmed by frustration. He was actually asking questions with answers right in front of him, because my heart died little by little with each disappointment. All these years, you allowed your mother to humiliate me, allowed Patrick to hate me, and even allowed everyone in the pack to look down on me. In your family, I was nothing more than a disposable accessory, a prop to showcase your kindness. I don't want to live like that anymore. That's why I'm not coming back, Nicholas. Nicholas froze. A clear trace of sorrow spread in his eyes, and even the corners of them turned slightly red. Perhaps this was the first time he truly realized that we were over. Stop looking back, Nicholas. We're done. As soon as I finished speaking, I turned around and walked out of the lounge. After that day, Nicholas never came to bother me again. Thomas told me the Alpha's inspection that day went terribly. Nicholas seemed to have something on his mind. While listening to the reports from the heads of the healing huts, his thoughts were clearly elsewhere. After the inspection, I stayed out of sight and had Thomas see Nicholas and his entourage off. The days slipped by, and my life became as still and quiet as a windless lake. This was true until one evening, when Nicholas showed up in front of my wooden cabin without warning. I was startled when I saw him. It had only been a little over a month since we last met, yet he now looked like a completely different man. He was no longer the lofty, impeccably polished Alpha. Instead, he looked like a rogue who had been wandering the wilds for far too long. His jaw was shadowed with dark stubble, and his golden eyes were bloodshot. He looked worn down, weary from hardship. Evelyn, I haven't been doing well lately, he said. When you're not here, my room feels so empty. No one prepares fresh clothes for me every day, and no one makes chamomile tea anymore. No one remembers that my stomach can't handle oily food, and no one reminds me to eat on time. I never thought much about those little things before, but now that you're gone, I realized how deeply your care had been woven into my life. Letting go of those habits is harder than I ever imagined. Evelyn, I'm sorry. I was arrogant and kept breaking your heart over and over again. But now I see how wrong I was. Please, can you give me another chance? Seeing the sincerity in his eyes and the pleading look on his face, I felt momentarily dazed. This wasn't the Nicholas the first used to know. He had always been that cold, aloof alpha. It felt like we lived in separate worlds. Whenever we argued, he never backed down. Whenever we had fought cold wars, I was always the first to give in. Yet now, this very same man had swallowed his pride, saying all this just to apologize. If this had been before, I would have given in right away. After all, I had once loved him like my life depended on it. But once I had let go of this love completely, nothing he did to win me back meant anything to me anymore. Nicholas, your chance is long gone. I was about to close the door, but he held it and pulled me into his arms. An ending is also a new beginning, Evelyn. I swear that I'll win your heart back. I never imagined that Nicholas would start courting me again. He had never shown me this kind of warmth or effort when we were still mates. That was when I realized there was no such thing as an alpha who didn't know how to be romantic. It only depended on whether he was willing to put his heart into it for you. Nicholas began showing up near my cabin all the time. Sometimes he left flowers. Other times it was delicious meals. The same alpha who couldn't even remember our bonding anniversary actually remembered my birthday for the first time. Evelyn, I'll be by your side for every birthday from now on. He even gave me a rare moonstone necklace. I saw this necklace once at the PAX marketplace. I lingered for a long time but walked away because it was too expensive. Nicholas had known about it the whole time. He just couldn't be bothered to make it happen for me. Perhaps he thought I wasn't worth it back then. But once I was gone, I suddenly was. Once I was no longer his Luna, did I become something precious. I remember you once said that you wanted to see the cave behind the waterfall. I've already set up dinner there. Let's go together tonight. I don't want to, I said. Why not, he asked. Because I already have plans. I hadn't lied to him. I truly had plans that night. Thomas had invited me days earlier to watch the meteor shower with him. We had spent every day together in the healing hut lately, and I could tell his feelings for me were more than just casual. I had made up my mind to step out from the shadows of my past and stop pushing away those who tried to come closer to me. What? Nicholas stared at me in disbelief. We just dissolved our mate bond 2 months ago, and you've already found someone else? I didn't want to explain, nor did I care to. Evelyn, how could you do this to me? I replied, we're no longer mates. My choices are mine to make. Nicholas' eyes turned bloodshot like an enraged beast. He looked as if he were truly heartbroken. Last month, Natalia confessed to me, but I turned her down. I told her there was only one Luna in my heart, and that was you. To be honest, I was drawn to you from the very first time we met, when the moon goddess tied our fates together. I just didn't realize it back then. After your father's accident, my mother kept urging me to dissolve our bond, and I knew it was the most rational choice at the time. But when your mother came to beg me, and I saw those eyes that looked so much like yours, my heart softened. The truth is, even if she hadn't asked me, I would never have dissolved our bond, because I had already fallen for you. Over the years, I've done many things that have disappointed you, maybe even push you to the edge of despair. But my feelings for you have never changed. His gaze dropped, and his voice turned hoarse. At that moment, the man standing in front of me overlapped with the young alpha once admired by the entire training ground. I had imagined countless times what it would be like to hear him say these words aloud. I pictured it when Fiona tormented me, when I lay sleepless while missing our pup, and in all those moments he misunderstood or neglected me. I had silently hoped that perhaps he did care for me, but he just didn't know how to show it. But now that the words I had longed to hear finally came from his lips, they stirred nothing in me. This wasn't a confession. It was a carefully wrapped performance meant to move himself. I instinctively placed a hand over my chest, and realized my heart hadn't quickened in the slightest. That was the moment I knew it was really over. His confession had once been everything I dreamed of, but now that he was finally offering it to me, I felt nothing at all. Just then my phone rang. I picked up and was shocked to hear Patrick's voice. "Mom." His voice was shaky, thick with emotion. "What's wrong?" "Mom, can you come home? I really miss you." For a second, I thought I was hallucinating. My beloved pup hadn't said he missed me even once in all these years. Every time he looked at me, all I saw was contempt, like he couldn't wait for me to disappear. "Mom, I got hurt. Nat called me a burden. She refused to treat me and even yelled at me. Last year, when I got injured, you carried me through the pouring rain to the hospital and stayed by my side for hours. You never once pushed me away. Nat told me she was only nice to me because of Dad. She said that once she becomes his mate and they have their own pup, she'll kick me out of the house." Patrick's sobs grew louder. "Since you left, no one cooks for me or cares about me anymore. I finally realized you're the one who loved me the most. Mom, please come back." I stayed quiet and listened as my pup poured his heart out. Memories of every moment I had shared with him over the years came rushing back to me. He said he missed my cooking, but I remembered the day I spent hours making his favorite honey-glazed ribs. Fiona told him my wolf was unstable, and that anything I made was dirty, so he flipped the entire dish onto the floor right in front of me. Now he said he missed having me around, but I remembered the last time he was hospitalized. I stayed up all night by his side. Yet the moment he opened his eyes and saw me, the first thing he said was, "Why are you still here? You're so annoying." He knew Fiona hated me, but he still ran to her every time to tattle on me, exaggerating how I had supposedly lost my mind. Those moments may have been in the past, but the pain they left still remained in my heart, and would likely never fade. I would never forget them, and I no longer wanted to forgive him. "Mom, can you forgive me?" "No." The moment you changed your emergency contact form and listed Natalia as your mother, I was no longer your mother. Don't contact me again. Go to the mother you picked. Go to Natalia. I quietly ended the call. Though my chest tightened with sorrow, I knew I had made the right decision. Nicholas' eyes were red-rimmed as he watched me hang up on Patrick. In that moment, I saw despair in his eyes. A single tear slipped from the corner of his eye. He knew I would never look back. I used to say Patrick was everything to me, but now I didn't even want that everything anymore. There was no way I could ever go back to being the Luna, who did whatever Nicholas asked, whenever he wanted, without complaint. Tears welled in his eyes and spilled over, growing heavier with each second. In the end, he had to turn away in embarrassment to wipe his tears. "Evelyn, is there really no turning back?" I nodded. "There isn't. No one waits forever. When something ends, it's over for good." After a long silence, he finally stopped trying to change my mind. Nicholas turned and left. I watched him walk away, his steps faltering as if he might collapse at any moment. I let out a deep breath. My phone buzzed at this moment. It was a message from Thomas. "Are we still watching the meteor shower tonight?" His words were cautious, like he was afraid I might say no. I typed out a reply that read, "I'll be there." Afterward, I threw myself into studying medicine and managed to cure a sudden plague outbreak. The cure made my name known far and wide, and I became the greatest healer sought after by countless nobles. I opened a healing hut in the neutral territory, and Thomas became my assistant. I was no longer someone's mother, someone's mate, or the Luna of any pack. My name was known by everyone, and whenever it was mentioned, people would gasp in admiration. I was Evelyn Clark, head healer, and I was ready to begin a new chapter of my own.